Take my bride, let's go for a ride in my newfangled automobile. Just where we will go, nobody knows, but it's sure a great way to feel. Behind the wheel of the speed meter steel, it's my newfangled automobile.
Hello and welcome to Vintage Car History. I'm Wild Bill. I think it's pretty common for a father to want his son to follow in his footsteps. It certainly happened in my case, as my father was a salesman, which is my current profession outside of YouTube. And in the late 19th century, a father who was a locomotive engineer expected his son to get into the same business, which the son did for a while. But he left the locomotive industry to become one of the greatest icons in American automotive history. So, let's take a look at the early career of this Mopar man, Walter Chrysler. Walter Percy Chrysler was born in Wamego, Kansas in 1875. His father, Henry, was a locomotive engineer and moved his family to Ellis, Kansas when he was 3 to work for the Kansas Pacific Railroad, which, by the way, eventually became the Union Pacific. Young Walter was fascinated by locomotives and, as a young lad, dreamed of following in his father's footsteps. After he completed his primary schooling, his father insisted that Walter go to college and get his engineering degree. However, he defied his father's wishes and instead entered into an apprenticeship at the age of 17 as a machinist in a locomotive repair shop. He excelled as a machinist and at the same time took correspondence courses and did eventually get his engineering degree by the age of 25. Chrysler was an innovative man and remained in the railroad business as a design engineer for 20 years. He relocated often as new opportunities arose for engineering jobs with more responsibility and higher pay. The last job he had in the railroad business was with the American Locomotive Company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Starting the job with an $8,000 per year salary, by the age of 36 he was making $12,000 as the plant manager, quite a lot of money at the time. Early in 1908, Chrysler bought his first car, a locomobile. He did not know how to drive, but he found the car absolutely fascinating and spent most of his time with it studying the mechanicals of the vehicle. Before he ever drove it, he took it apart and put it back together several times to really wrap his head around what it could and could not do. 3 years later, he met another car guy, Charles Nash, whom at the time was president of Buick. And this meeting would change Walter's life and the American automotive industry forever. At the time Chrysler met Nash, he was 36 years old, married with 4 children, and had a high-paying engineering job in the locomotive industry. Nash couldn't actually afford Chrysler, but Walter had been bitten by the car bug and was also a certifiable gearhead. Locomotives were about a century old by then, and the industry had a bit of saturation going on. But cars were the new emerging technology and many more opportunities were available. And so when Nash offered Chrysler the job of production manager at Buick, he took it, despite it only paying about half of what he was already making. Chrysler proved to be outstanding in his new role. He was good with people, not common amongst engineers, and was a genius at efficiency and cost-cutting. He once famously quipped, "Whenever there is a hard job to be done, I assign it to a lazy man. He is sure to find an easy way to do it." His ability to see the strengths and weaknesses of people and refine manufacturing processes became legendary at Buick and General Motors. Billy Durant returned to General Motors in 1915 as president, and Chrysler did not like that at first. Walter saw Durant as reckless and undisciplined, which was a reasonable assessment at the time. In early 1916, Chrysler submitted his resignation from Buick over the issue. Durant was horrified and immediately took the next train to Flint, Michigan to try to resolve the issue. Durant gave Chrysler an offer he couldn't refuse. take over as president of Buick with a guaranteed salary of $10,000 per year, but also gave him an option. Receive $500,000 cash bonus at the end of each fiscal year, or $500,000 worth of General Motors stock. Additionally, he would only report to Durant. He would have free rein to run Buick as he wished. Walter was shocked and asked Durant to repeat the offer, which he did. Chrysler accepted and became the president of Buick. For the next 3 years, Chrysler ran the Buick brand, and under his leadership was the most profitable brand of cars in the General Motors portfolio. But he wasn't in agreement regarding the direction GM was taking and left the company in 1919. His post-war career is a tale for another day, but he did take his yearly bonus in stock, and when he cashed out, it was paid $10 million, making him a very wealthy man. True, he had left the locomotive business, but in the end, Walter Percy Chrysler made his daddy proud. Thanks for watching Vintage Car History, and we'll see you next week. Peace.